After negligible resistance from the locals, Muslim Arabs of the Umayyad Caliphate conquered Algeria in the early 8th century. Large numbers of the indigenous Berber people converted to Islam. Christians, Berber and Latin speakers remained in the great majority in Tunisia until the end of the 9th century, and Muslims only became a vast majority sometime in the 10th. After the fall of the Umayyad Caliphate, numerous local dynasties emerged, including the Rustamids, Aghlabids, Fatimids, Zirids, Hamidids, Almoravids, Almohads and the Zionids. The Christians left in 3 waves, after the initial conquest, in the 10th century and the 11th. The last were evacuated to Sicily by the Normans, and the few remaining died out in the 14th century. Fatimid Caliphate, a Shia Ismaili dynasty that ruled much of North Africa, circa 960-1100 Dahia Memorial in Henshela, Algeria. During the Middle Ages, North Africa was home to many great scholars, saints and sovereigns, including Judah ibn Quraysh, the first grammarian to mention Semitic and Berber languages, the great Sufi masters Sidi Boumadyan Abu Madyan and Sidi el-Hwari, and the emirs Abd al-Mumin and Yag Morrison. It was during this time that the Fatimids, or children of Fatima, daughter of Muhammad, came to the Maghreb. These Fatimids went on to found a long-lasting dynasty stretching across the Maghreb, Hejaz and the Levant, boasting a secular inner government, as well as a powerful army and navy, made up primarily of Arabs and Levantines extending from Algeria to their capital state of Cairo. The Fatimid Caliphate began to collapse when its governors the Zirids seceded. In order to punish them, the Fatimids sent the Arab Banu Hilal and Banu Sulaim against them. The resultant war is recounted in the epic Taghrabat. In Al-Taghribat, the Amazigh Zirid hero Khalifa al-Zanyati asks daily, for duels, to defeat the Hilalan hero Abu Zaid al-Hilali and many other Arab knights in a string of victories. The Zirids, however, were ultimately defeated, ushering in an adoption of Arab customs and culture. The indigenous Amazigh tribes, however, remained largely independent, and depending on tribe, location and time controlled varying parts of the Maghreb, at times unifying it as under the Fatimids. The Fatimid Islamic State, also known as Fatimid Caliphate, made an Islamic empire that included North Africa, Sicily, Palestine, Jordan, Lebanon, Syria, Egypt, the Red Sea coast of Africa, Tihama, Hejaz and Yemen. Caliphates from northern Africa traded with the other empires of their time, as well as forming part of a confederated support and trade network with other Islamic states during the Islamic era. The Berber people historically consisted of several tribes. The 2 main branches were the Bach and Barnes tribes, who were divided into tribes, and again into sub-tribes. Each region of the Maghreb contained several tribes, for example, Sanaja, Hwara, Zinata, Masmouda, Kotama, Awarba, and Bergwada. All these tribes made independent territorial decisions. 42 several Amazigh dynasties emerged during the Middle Ages in the Maghreb and other nearby lands. Ibn Khaldun provides a table summarizing the Amazigh dynasties of the Maghreb region: the Zirid, Ifranid, Maghrawa, Almoravid, Hamidid, Almohad, Marinid, Abdulwadid, Wattasid, Manasseh and Hafsid dynasties. 43 Both of the Hamidid and Zirid empires as well as the Fatimids established their rule in all of the Maghreb countries. The Zirids ruled land in what is now Algeria, Tunisia, Morocco, Libya, Spain, Malta, and Italy. The Hamidids captured and held important regions such as Ouargla, Constantine, Sfax, Susa, Algiers, Tripoli and Fez, establishing their rule in every country in the Maghreb region. The Fatimids, which was created and established by the Kutama Berbers, conquered all of North Africa as well as Sicily and parts of the Middle East. Following the Berber revolt, numerous independent states emerged across the Maghreb. In Algeria, the Rustamid kingdom was established. The Rustamid realm stretched from Tafel Alt in Morocco to the Nafusa Mountains in Libya, including south, central and western Tunisia, therefore including territory in all of the modern-day Maghreb countries. In the south, the Rustamid realm expanded to the modern borders of Mali and included territory in Mauritania. Once extending their control over all of the Maghreb, part of Spain and briefly over Sicily, originating from modern Algeria, the Zirids only controlled modern Africa by the 11th century. The Zirids recognized nominal suzerainty of the Fatimid caliphs of Cairo. El-Moise, the Zirid ruler, decided to end this recognition and declared his independence. The Zirids also fought against other Zenata kingdoms, for example the Maghrawa, a Berber dynasty originating from Algeria and which at one point was a dominant power in the Maghreb, ruling over much of Morocco and western Algeria including Fez, Shijil Massa, Agmat, Ushta, most of the Suandran reaching as far as Msila and the Zab in Algeria. Territories controlled by the Maghrawa, as the Fatimid state was at the time too weak to attempt a direct invasion, they found another means of revenge. Between the Nile and the Red Sea were living Bedouin nomad tribes expelled from Arabia for their disruption and turbulency. The Banu Hilal and the Banu Sulaim, for example, who regularly disrupted farmers in the Nile Valley since the nomads would often loot their farms. The then Fatimid vizier decided to destroy what he couldn't control, and broke a deal with the chiefs of these Bedouin tribes. The Fatimids even gave them money to leave. Whole tribes set off with women, children, elders, animals and camping equipment. Some stopped on the way, especially in Cyrenaica, where they are still one of the essential elements of the settlement, but most arrived in Africa by the Gabes region, arriving 1051. The Zirid ruler tried to stop this rising tide, but with each encounter, the last under the walls of Kairouan, his troops were defeated and the Arabs remained masters of the battlefield. The Arabs usually didn't take control over the cities, instead looting them and destroying them. The invasion kept going, and in 1057 the Arabs spread on the high plains of Constantine, where they encircled the Kala of Banu Hamad, capital of the Hammadid Emirate, as they had done in Kairouan a few decades ago. From there they gradually gained the upper Algiers and Oran plains. Some of these territories were forcibly taken back by the Almohads in the second half of the 12th century. The influx of Bedouin tribes was a major factor in the linguistic, cultural Arabization of the Maghreb and in the spread of nomadism in areas where agriculture had previously been dominant. Ibn Khaldun noted that the lands ravaged by Banu Hilal tribes had become completely arid desert. The Almohads, originating from modern-day Morocco, although founded by a man originating from Algeria known as Abd al-Mumin, would soon take control over the Maghreb. During the time of the Almohad dynasty, Abd al-Mumin's tribe, the Komia, were the main supporters of the throne and the most important body of the empire. Defeating the weakening Almoravid Empire and taking control over Morocco in 1147, they pushed into Algeria in 1152, taking control over Tlemcen, Oran, and Algiers, wresting control from the Hillian Arabs, and by the same year they defeated Hammadids, who controlled eastern Algeria. Following their decisive defeat in the Battle of Las Navas de Toulouse in 1212, the Almohads began collapsing, and in 1235 the governor of modern-day western Algeria, Yag Morrison ibn Zion, declared his independence and established the kingdom of Tlemcen and the Zionid dynasty. Warring with the Almohad forces attempting to restore control over Algeria for 13 years, they defeated the Almohads in 1248 after killing their caliph in a successful ambush near Oujda. 68 The Zionids retained their control over Algeria for 3 centuries. Much of the eastern territories of Algeria were under the authority of the Hafsid dynasty, although the Emirate of Béjaïa, encompassing the Algerian territories of the Hafsids, would occasionally be independent from central Tunisian control. At their peak, the Zionid kingdom included all of Morocco as its vassal to the west, and in the east reached as far as Tunis, which they captured during the reign of Abu Tashfin. After several conflicts with local Barbary pirates sponsored by the Zionid sultans, Spain decided to invade Algeria and defeat the native kingdom of Tlemcen. In 1505, they invaded and captured Mers el-Kabir, and in 1509, after a bloody siege, they conquered Oran. Following their decisive victories over the Algerians in the western coastal areas of Algeria, the Spanish decided to get bolder, and invaded more Algerian cities. In 1510, they led a series of sieges and attacks, taking over Béjaïa in a large siege, and leading a semi-successful siege against Algiers. They also besieged Tlemcen. In 1511, they took control over Churchill and Jijel, and attacked Mostaganem, where although they weren't able to conquer the city, they were able to force a tribute on them.